The air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil that nourishes our food, these are the essential elements of life. But what happens when these elements are poisoned by the byproducts of industry? Industrial pollution, a largely invisible threat, poses a growing danger to human health and the natural world. From the factories that churn out our consumer goods to the power plants that illuminate our cities, industrial activities release a cocktail of harmful chemicals into our environment. These chemicals, often invisible to the naked eye, have the power to contaminate our air, water, and soil, with devastating consequences for all living things. The dangers of industrial pollution are not confined to the immediate vicinity of factories and industrial zones. Carried by winds and currents, these pollutants can travel vast distances, contaminating ecosystems far removed from their source. Moreover, many industrial chemicals are persistent, meaning they do not break down easily in the environment and can accumulate in the food chain, posing long-term risks to both human and ecological health. Addressing the challenge of industrial pollution requires a multifaceted approach, encompassing stricter regulations, sustainable industrial practices, and a collective commitment to protecting the health of our planet. The roots of industrial pollution run deep, intertwined with the history of industrialization itself. The Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century, marked a turning point in human history, ushering in an era of unprecedented technological advancement and economic growth. However, this progress came at a cost. Factories powered by coal and steam released massive amounts of smoke and soot into the atmosphere, blanketing cities in a thick smog. Rivers and streams, once pristine sources of life, became conduits for industrial waste, their waters turning toxic with dyes, heavy metals, and other pollutants. As industrialization spread across the globe, so too did its environmental consequences. The 20th century witnessed a dramatic increase in the scale and scope of industrial pollution, fueled by the rise of the chemical industry and the mass production of synthetic materials. New and more potent pollutants emerged, including pesticides, herbicides, and industrial solvents, many of which had unintended and far-reaching effects on human health and the environment. The realization that industrial progress could have such devastating consequences led to the birth of the modern environmental movement and a growing awareness of the need to balance economic development with environmental protection. Industrial activities release a vast array of pollutants into the environment, each with its own unique properties and potential for harm. Airborne pollutants include particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds. These pollutants contribute to respiratory problems and cardiovascular disease, especially in urban areas. Waterborne pollutants from industrial sources include heavy metals, pesticides, and industrial byproducts. These contaminants poison aquatic life and contaminate drinking water sources. Soil contamination occurs when hazardous substances seep into the ground, accumulating in the soil. Heavy metals and industrial solvents can render soil infertile and pose risks to human health. Pollution in one medium can easily migrate to others, highlighting the need for a holistic approach to environmental management. The human toll of industrial pollution is both staggering and unacceptable. Exposure to industrial pollutants is linked to a wide range of health problems, from respiratory illnesses and cardiovascular disease to cancer, birth defects, and neurological disorders. Children, the elderly, and people with pre-existing health conditions are particularly vulnerable to the effects of industrial pollution. Air pollution alone is responsible for millions of premature deaths worldwide each year, with industrial emissions being a major contributor to this global health crisis. Respiratory diseases, including asthma, bronchitis, and lung cancer, are among the most common health impacts associated with industrial air pollution. Fine particulate matter, a particularly dangerous component of air pollution, can penetrate deep into the lungs, causing inflammation and damage to lung tissue. Long-term exposure to air pollution has also been linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, and heart attack. Industrial pollutants can also disrupt the endocrine system, which regulates hormones, leading to reproductive problems, developmental disorders, and other health issues. Exposure to certain industrial chemicals during critical periods of development, such as pregnancy or early childhood, can have profound and long-lasting effects on health. The true extent of the health impacts from industrial pollution is difficult to quantify, as many of these effects may not manifest until years or even decades after exposure.